Hello, everyone. Nadeem here with PCSN, and I'm here with Mac. Hello, Mac. How you doing?
Hey, boss, how's it going today?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain. Let me ask you this: did you happen to watch the video I did yesterday?
I did. I did. Actually, we wanted to talk a little bit more about that. The superpowers that PCSN has and what kind of makes us a little bit different, if you will, from everyone else and what we're doing. I think you really wanted to expand on that because I'm pretty sure that's a question that quite a few of our clients have. We do things a lot differently than a lot of other companies, and let's talk a little bit more about
Yeah.
why.
So, so a lot of what other companies are doing is, they're focusing on more of the technology side, but from a sport perspective. So they're focusing on support, and a lot of what other companies are doing is they're putting, for example, their entry level guys on their help desk. And the idea is, well, these guys we don't pay much, so let's put the cheap guys on the help desk, and they can kind of, filter out some of that noise and only escalate tickets that need to be escalated. The problem with that is that now a ticket that could be closed in, let's say 30 minutes, it may take an hour or an hour and a half to close because the first person who took the call could not resolve it and they escalated and assigned it to somebody else. So there are certain specific metrics that we're using to identify how streamlined our process is. And one of those metrics is if a ticket stays open for, a long amount of time, that's bad because, that's more cost to us, especially if a customer is on fixed cost outsourcing, which is pretty much all of what we're doing nowadays is fixed cost outsourcing. And that's why a lot of other companies are not doing fixed cost outsourcing, is because they haven't dialed in to those metrics and where those things are. By the way, can you see my video, Mac?
I cannot. I don't see
Okay,
any.
yeah, I just noticed my video is not there, which is really strange. Let me switch over here and see if it comes back. There we go. Okay, that's better.
There we go.
So that's, the thing is that there are certain metrics that we have to look at that allows us to lower our cost. So that allows us to focus on things that are important, things that are more proactive. So if we are always focused on support and each ticket takes a long time to resolve and we keep spinning our wheels, and that's that downward spiral of death. That's just not going to get you anywhere. So what you want to do is you want to minimize the amount of time you're spending on support, resolve those tickets quickly. And another metric that we use is how many tickets per tech average are we doing? And I mean, normally companies are like, 15, 20 tickets per tech per day, which is huge. I mean, our average last time I checked was 5.4 tickets per tech per day, which is a great number to be at. So that allows us to now focus on more proactive stuff. And let me share my screen real quick. Let me pull up the whiteboard, and this is what I had. Yesterday, and I left it on here. So maybe can you see that, Mac?
I can. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So basically, what we're doing is we are getting out of the spiral of death over here, which allows us more time to spend on these two roles right here. And so, these two roles, then if we focus over here, these are proactive services, by the way, the net admin and the VCIO. So if we do a good job here, that minimizes the support tickets, and that also generates additional revenue on this side. So we are kind of now as a company moving in the right direction, where we are getting out of that death spiral and we're moving more into proactive stuff. And that was the key, and that's the key that kind of takes us out of that reactive role of support and then brings us more into the proactive side of things. Now, this applies to any company out there if they have their own IT department or if they're outsourcing or whatever they're doing. Any IT department, their main thing when they start looking at what they're going to do, how they're going to run their business, they start looking at support, and they try to do it a little differently, and that's why they get caught up in that death spiral of support. And that is, they're just spending all their time on support. Now, there is a finite amount of time in a day. There's a finite time per tech available. So if you're spending a lot of that time in support, you don't have time to spend on NetAdmin or VCIO functions. So, that's what really kind of shifted us into high gear, is when we started focusing more on these proactive roles, and automatically that reduced our reactive support tickets coming in, because now we were focused on the root cause of the reason why these support tickets were coming in. I mean, it's as simple as, let me give you an idea from not too long ago. So a customer was they just used to call us on when they needed us, so we were on call for them on a per task basis. One day they call us and say, oh, their server's down, and so they're not a contract customer, so we're like, okay, well, let us look. So, and then after talking a little bit, found out that they had a power outage, and it was about 3-hour power outage, and then after the power came back on, their server never came back on. So now, one of the things that got me thinking about this, because I was thinking, this was a purely avoidable thing that happened. And the way it would have been avoided is if the NetAdmin had done its job, if the NetAdmin had done their job, they would have done an assessment. And we do this for every customer out there, depending on the size of the customer and the industry. We may do this on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, or an annual basis. Mostly we do it on a quarterly basis. I don't think we have anybody on annual, but anyway, so if the NetAdmin had done their job, they would have identified that their UPS at this customer site is old. It's not going to hold power for beyond 1 hour, or actually in this case it was like 20 minutes. It couldn't hold power more than 20 minutes. Now, so if the NetAdmin had done their job. Now, by the way, we have hard procedures around the NetAdmin, so we're not like just sending a tech guy on site, hey, do your NetAdmin job. No, we actually have a list that the NetAdmin has to go through. We are picking up things like dates, manufacturing dates, date of last replacement, so not only the age of the hardware, but, certain configurations, even down to wiring. If we see wiring is not Cat 6, then, that's something that NetAdmin keeps track of. That information then flows up to the VCIO, and I'll just draw it like so that information goes to VCIO, and the VCIO in their meeting with the customer will go over the things that we need to put in place. So the VCIO puts the budgets in place, right? So like if the UPS batteries need to be replaced, well, the VCIO is going to budget that out and then lay out a plan when we're going to replace batteries in UPSs, or when we are going to replace certain users' workstations because they're getting end of life, or certain servers because they're getting end of life, or certain routers because the hardware is no longer supported. So these kind of things, it kind of gives a good understanding to the customer from a budget perspective. They know exactly, what their future budget is going to look like. It makes sure that now the IT is truly aligned with their business. If you don't have these two functions, you cannot do that. It's just not possible. If you're always spinning your wheels in support, you're always looking at reactive stuff. You're not even looking at 6 months from now, as opposed to a few years. So these meetings we schedule these like a year in advance. So these are like way in advance scheduled meetings. Now, so in this case, the example that I gave you, had the net admin done their job, the VCIO would have already brought it up with the customer, with management, that, hey, in this many days or in this range, we need to start looking at replacing either batteries or UPSs for these servers. And this issue would have never happened. I mean, think about the downtime. Think about the jumping through hoops. Think about the billable time for somebody to try to log in and figure out what happened to the server. That's only part of the deal. This customer was fortunate. They were lucky because the server did a dirty shutdown. There could have been corruption in files. They were lucky that they did not get any corruption. They were lucky that when we manually started the server up, by the way, this was running in a virtual machine. So when we manually started the server up, there was no corruption and the VM came up just fine. It could have been that it came up to a blue screen of death. What then? Well, I mean, think about the downtime. I mean, this was a truly a disaster. The only reason it did not become a disaster was because the customer got lucky. In this case, they got lucky. But had these roles done their job, or had these roles been in place, this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have been relying on reactive stuff. And that's what companies miss in the IT field. IT is a very complex thing. It's not like A B equals C, A plus B equals C. It's not like that. It's very complex. There's so many moving parts, and if you're not ahead of it, things can get out of hand real quick. And that's what happens when you are only working in a reactive role, just in the support side of things. Now, of course, things happen. You cannot get rid of reactive tickets, reactive support, totally. That's it. You're not going to get rid of it, but you can minimize it. Now, when I give, people the idea in the IT industry, when we have our conventions, and I give them the idea that, hey, we have, our average, tickets per tech per day is 5.4, and they're like, oh wow, how'd you get it that low? What I don't tell them, and this is the first time I'm telling anybody, what I don't tell them is, when we track tickets, everything is a ticket to us. I'm not talking about just reactive tickets related to tech support. Anybody and everybody, if they want to reach out to us, we create a ticket. So that 5.4 number is actually lower than 5.4, but I use that metric because even at 5.4, that's a good number. Usually it's 15 or 20 tickets per tech per day, and we were at 5.4, and then you throw in that a lot of those tickets are just, somebody wants to ask a question. It's not really a support ticket, or somebody, calling in and saying, hey, can you, either reset my password, or, hey, I just need to talk to somebody because, that we were talking. And so there are a lot of those tickets are just, they're not really tech related tickets, because when somebody calls in to us, we create a ticket on it. So whether somebody emails for support or whether somebody sends a ticket, a lot of times customers will email, like they might want to talk to me directly, and they'll just email support and say, hey, Nadeem, can you call me? That gets tagged as a ticket. We take that into account. So our tickets, that metric that we have is very good. And the whole reason that is so good is because of these two functions right here. So any company out there, anybody in the IT field, anybody who has an IT department, this is what you need to focus on: NetAdmin and VCIO. Now, us being an IT company, it's a double whammy for us, right? So these two roles, not only do they reduce the number of reactive tickets, but with these two roles, we are actually able to bill more, because now we're doing more project services and more centralized services. So that brings in additional revenue, while this part right here reduces our expense. So it's a double whammy for us. Now, Now, of course, the next question comes, oh, well, that's just, a vehicle for you to sell us stuff. Well, that's not true, because a lot of these project services are things we have uncovered during these two functions. Maybe there's an application that can be deployed to automate a certain part that is right now being performed by humans. If we can replace 5 or 6 humans with an automated process, that's a win in my book, because automation is not going to call in sick. Automation is not going to have mood swings. Automation is not going to have COVID problems, right? but that's the thing is, we try to look at these different things, and then we present them to management during the VCIO meeting. Then we set up a budget and we set up a timeline on when to implement technologies. And at the same time, the VCIO is trying to understand where the customer wants to take their business in the next 5 and 10 years, so we can make sure everything is in place that we can support the business from an IT perspective. An example is one of our customers in manufacturing field. They had like 70 employees, 70 employees, and then they sold the company to somebody, and within like 6 to 7 months, in that time frame, less than a year, they went to 300 users. And if we did not have these two roles,
yep.
Things would not be running. That's like running a car for a year with no oil in it. It's just not going to go. So we kind of, that's what we've learned over the years, and we've been in business since '97. So we've been around for long enough to realize, what makes sense, where we need to focus, what roles are the most important roles to not only minimize expense, but also bring in additional revenue. And when I say bring in additional revenue, a lot of times it's additional revenue for the customer as well.
Yep.
Don't forget what happened at Amazon. The AWS service, that at one point was no revenue. That was just an expense. That was Amazon's internal IT department, until somebody realized, hey, we can resell this service because we have so much of it. And then it became AWS. Yep. It changed the industry. It created a whole new industry. Not only changed it, it created a whole new industry. Yep. And then, Microsoft jumped in, and Google jumped in, and Oracle's jumping in, and Salesforce jumped in. All these companies are now jumping in. But who started it? That was AWS.
AWS, yep.
So the thing is, these are the two roles that you want to focus on, and these are the roles that we focus on. And that's what the proactive part. When I talk to customers, sometimes I say proactive, and it's like, well, how are you proactive? You're an IT company. How can you be proactive? You're taking support tickets. No. We try to minimize support tickets. We want to get rid of support tickets. Right. If one day I come into the office and that day we have 0 support tickets, that means we've done well. But that's not practical, right? So we're always gonna, as long as there's humans around, we're gonna have support tickets. It's like, today this one customer called in and they said, oh, this Outlook is not working for me. And we were like, what? Outlook's not working? What happened? What did you do? And they were like, I didn't do anything. It's like, it's asking me for a password. And it's like, well, put in your password. It's like, I don't know what my password is. And I was like, what? So some of these users, they put in the password one time, and Outlook will not usually prompt you for it unless there's a major update. So, what happened is a major update happened and Outlook prompted for a password, and they didn't even remember that they had one because it never asked them before, but one time when they set it up. So, those kind of things we're always going to have, I enjoy working with support. I enjoy working with people and helping them out and all that. But at the end of the day, I want to minimize that, because that's not what makes our customers happy.
Right.
If there is a support ticket, that means there's downtime for somebody, either one user or multiple users at that company. That's never good. And that's why we want to focus on the NetAdmin and VCIO roles. And of course, the centralized services, those are our automation services. And, a lot of customers probably don't know about this, but we have a lot of automation on the back end using our MSP platform, our managed services platform. down to where we can generate alerts when workstations are shut down, when somebody changes, for example, somebody swaps out RAM in a computer, we can send out an alert to management, or somebody removes RAM or a disk from a computer, we can send alerts out. We can do inventories, audits, all kinds of stuff from our centralized services. But the core is the NetAdmin and the vCIO. That's what's going to put you on the right path. So was that confusing enough, Mac?
Absolutely not. Maybe for a few other people that'd be like, what? I know for people, as long as it's working and they can get in and do what they need to do, they're happy. But the beautiful thing of what Nadeem is showing, everyone, is that's how we're making this happen in the first place. So yeah. No, it's great.
Now, there's been instances where we've done such a phenomenal job of these two roles that customers come to us and think, hey, we haven't had any problems. You think we can cut back on some of the services? And the thing is, and I tell them, that's the reason why you haven't had the problems. If you start cutting back, those problems are going to start coming in, because if you cut back these two roles, the vCIO and NetAdmin, by the way, just to give everybody a little glimpse of how this happens. So, when we schedule the NetAdmin, it's done on site, and this is a whole day, one whole day, 8 hours. This NetAdmin is going and analyzing your network, looking at stuff, not just analyzing, but looking at stuff, looking at your cables, looking at your routers, flipping them around, checking their manufacture dates, checking serial numbers, making sure are they still under warranty. If they're not, if they're coming up for renewal, that's something that vCIO is gonna, get renewal on, get with the customer, hey, so-and-so servers and routers need to be renewed for warranty. Or if they are not renewable, then we need to figure out and replace that hardware, because you don't want to have a router that goes down when all your users are trying to work, and now all of a sudden everybody's down. And you cannot get enterprise routers. You cannot just go out to Best Buy and buy one. They are not available at Best Buy. They're not available at Fry's. You got to order them. You got to order them from these companies where it may be on back order. Like right now, I know a lot of stuff is on back order. Yeah. Because of this, the COVID stuff. A lot of the stuff you can't just buy it and expect it to be delivered overnight. It's a few days backlog, but all those kind of things can be avoided, and I like it when customers think that they can cut back on IT because they haven't had many problems, and then I remind them this is why they haven't had many problems, because of the proactive nature of what we're doing, as opposed to always reactive. Now, the good thing about about this support part is the customer always knows that their people are reaching out to IT and they're always resolving problems, and they think, oh, IT is doing such a great job because they're taking care of all of our customers. And, like a lot of IT companies, they have SLAs around support. What is an SLA around support? Oh, we're going to answer your call in less than 1 hour. Why have the call in the first place? It's a failure on your part if there is a call in the first place.
That's good.
Customers don't ask that. Because it's just that that standard way of thinking, and but that's what makes the difference. So Mac, I've kind of rambled on long enough, but and I can go on for days. But I think we need to wrap it up. It's I want to try to keep it under 30 minutes.
Yes,
so what's your weekend like? What do you plan for weekend? Anything special?
No. I'm gonna try to spend some quality time with the young adult, my daughter. I haven't really been doing that. She has a job now, so she kind of made mention that I don't spend time talking to her. So I'm gonna try to do that this weekend.
Yeah, torment her a little bit, huh?
Yeah, basically.
No, that's good. So yeah, but one of the things that like the example that I gave you for this customer, it actually happened within the last 10 days, and that's why I remember it, where the power outage happened, and the power outage was actually part of the Louisiana grid. because of the hurricane. The Louisiana grid went down, and so it was a longer outage than they had anticipated. And their in-house IT, team just was not up to speed on that. The batteries in the UPSs have to be replaced. They just weren't checking it, and that's why we try to make everything a process. If it's written down process, you cannot miss it. If you leave it up to somebody to figure it out and do it, it's not going to happen. But yeah, so that's how we do it. That's how we minimize support. That's how we can offer these fixed cost agreements, and that's why our customers are happy. I mean, that's the bottom line.
That's true. It really is. The customers are happy. I think there's an element of trust that you want to have for your service provider, but if we're being really honest, a lot of customers don't have that. And what I've seen here at PCSN is, people trust what Nadeem is doing. Yeah, it's not a lot of scoffing and like, it's like, what? Up to this point, I don't have problems because he's proactive. Yeah. So it's a good thing,
Yeah, and one of those things that I like to tell people is, if a customer does not trust us, either they already know, or we will find out that they don't trust us. And we don't have any long-term drawn out contracts. It's real simple. Either party can cancel, get out of the agreement with a 30-day notice. And I've been known to send out those 30-day notices to, I mean, like that one example I give people, it's it's a well-known company in Houston, and one day I gave them a notice, and they were like, the owner called me and he was like, "Oh, Nadeem, I wish I was in a business like yours where you can afford to fire customers." But the bottom line is, these two roles right here, the net admin and the VCIO, they really get us so close to the customer because we try to understand the customer's industry, how the customer does business, how they tick. And that's how we're able to make recommendations to make sure that IT is going to do what they want to do in their business. And that just brings us more, than it brings that trust level a little bit higher. It kicks it up a notch just because we are so close to the business, and knowing the ins and outs. And then, I mean, it's just a beautiful thing when everything kind of, runs like a Swiss watch. Yep. It just, everything kind of works together, and there's no issue like, oh, we're onboarding 5 people and it's a big problem because 5 people are coming on board. It's a natural process, and everything, if it's a process, it just flows beautifully. And that's what we like to do. Yep. So let's call it a day for this call, and I'll try to push it out. I can't make any promises. I'll try to push it out today and publish it. But I have a full day. I have a few meetings after this, so it might be until tomorrow that I can get this out. Yeah. So hey, Mac, if I don't talk to you, you have a good day, and everybody out there, be safe, and hopefully we'll get rid of this pandemic pretty soon, because I'm tired of this.
I'm tired of it. I'm really tired of it.
I hear you. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, guys.